I'm Haley B. Miller, and this is Ohio Politics Explained, a podcast where you give us 15 minutes and we give you all the news you need to sound smart and impress your friends. Welcome to another episode of Ohio Politics Explained. It's been a week. J.D. Vance is now Vice President of the United States, Ohio has a new senator, and the 2026 race for governor is officially heating up. The Ohio Senate, meanwhile, dropped the first bills of the new session, including a controversial higher ed bill. Erin Glenn is with me today to wade through it all.
Happy to be here.
First, let's talk Inauguration Day. Vice President Vance took the oath of office with President Donald Trump on Monday, and Ohio Republicans descended on D.C. to celebrate. Everything was inside because of unseasonably cold weather in D.C., so it wasn't quite what attendees, including me, expected. But there was plenty of pomp and circumstance, including a parade that featured the marching band from Vance's Middletown High School. But let's return to Ohio. Erin, you were in Springfield to see how the city's Haitian population felt about inauguration. Remind us why that matters and what the vibe was.
Yes. So our new Vice President, J.D. Vance, back in September, had tweeted these claims without evidence about Haitian immigrants in Springfield abducting and eating people's pets, which prompted a huge national focus on Springfield and the significant increase in its Haitian immigrant population that had taken place over the last 4 years. So on Inauguration Day, I went down and saw a number of Springfield residents in the Haitian restaurant, kind of watching the inauguration take place, watching J.D. Vance be sworn in. And a lot of the Haitian residents there told me that it felt strange to see Vance in such a national platform after his comments. But they had been preparing for the inauguration since the election. I spoke to the executive director of the Haitian Support Center there, who said that they've been having trainings so that residents know their rights and kind of talking about what they should do if they encounter immigrations and customs enforcement agents.
Is there a fear at all about what this new administration means for them? I mean, we know that the Trump administration is expected to target temporary protective status, which is what a lot of Haitian immigrants have used to settle in Springfield. There's, of course, a whole other discussion about undocumented immigrants, but that really doesn't apply to Springfield's Haitian community.
Right. That's definitely a concern for Haitian residents. I mean, right now, the temporary protected status has been extended until February 2026, but Trump signed an executive order his first day in office saying that there should be a review of all TPS cases. So residents are preparing for the worst. I mean, one of the trainings the Haitian Support Center had talked about designating a guardian for your children in the event that you are deported.
Wow. And it's interesting, too, because Ohio is in kind of a weird place where, of course, Governor Mike DeWine is a Republican. He has pledged to support the administration's efforts with policing undocumented immigrants. But DeWine has also been a big defender of, Springfield's Haitian community, said that, they contribute to the economy there. They've come to Springfield and the United States looking for a better life, to kind of get away from some of the instability back in Haiti. So it's going to be interesting, I think, to see where he positions himself and therefore the state of Ohio in all of this.
Yeah, and it might also be interesting to see what Springfield employers have to say about the temporary protected status, since, I mean, one of the reasons that they have a large Haitian population is because of the amount of warehouse work that there is in Springfield.
Right, and they've been, able to hire a lot of folks from Haiti, and presumably that's been good for their business.
Right.
Our next topic is 2026. Attorney General Dave Yost announced the worst kept secret in Columbus. He's running for governor to replace DeWine, who is term limited. Yost is the first one to officially jump in the race on the Republican side, though others have been hinting at it for quite some time. There is one person not running anymore, Jon Husted. DeWine appointed him to replace Vance in the Senate, and he was sworn in as senator earlier this week. Who else might we hear from now that Husted is out and Yost is in?
Well, you reported that Vivek Ramaswamy will launch his campaign for governor soon, now that he's stepping away from the Department of Government efficiency. So that should be an interesting kind of race, especially if Trump ends up weighing in with an endorsement next year.
Yeah, I think that would definitely give Ramaswamy an edge. We're also expecting, I think, Ohio Treasurer Robert Sprague to formally launch his campaign. He's already changed some paperwork at the Secretary of State's office to indicate that he's planning to pursue a run. So it's, going to be a messy primary, I think. And I suspect that was probably part of Husted's calculation when the Senate appointment was presented to him. We had reported that he was really wrestling with the decision because he wanted to run for governor for a long time. But I suppose it's better to just be handed a new job than to have to...
Yeah, bird in the hand, right?
Although he will have an election ahead of him in 2026 still. I don't think that primary is going to be too chaotic, but he will almost certainly have a challenger on the Democratic side of things. And then if he wins in 2026, he has to run in 2028. So a lot of elections for Husted potentially. And on the Dem side for governor, we have Dr. Amy Acton, who previously led the Ohio Department of Health. Do we have any sense yet of whether she's going to have any challengers on her side that could open up a Dem primary?
I don't think people have signaled as openly as they have in the Republican primary. I've heard talk about Allison Russo, but I'm not sure that she's going to be interested in a run.
Yeah, Russo's come up a lot, and I think we're still waiting to see what, if anything, Sherrod Brown's going to do now that he's no longer in the Senate. Let's pivot now to the Ohio legislature. The House met this week to finalize some rules for the new session, and Senate lawmakers dropped around 30 bills to kick things off. One of them is a throwback to last session. It would change higher ed in the state by eliminating DEI initiatives, banning faculty strikes, and firing poorly performing tenured professors. What's different this time with this bill, both what it does and kind of the politics around it?
Yeah, it's kind of like Senate Bill 83 is back and it's stronger than before. Senate Bill 83, the version of this that was proposed during the last session, would have banned mandatory DEI training, and then this bill eliminates all DEI programs and scholarships, kind of continuing the Supreme Court decision last year about affirmative action. Senate Bill 83 had kind of prohibition on professors in their classroom mentioning divisive topics, and Senate Bill 1 now refers to controversial beliefs and policies and makes it clear that universities should not be making statements about that, and that faculty should allow students to, quote, reach their own conclusions. So it's not clear exactly what that would mean in a classroom setting. And students are concerned about that. There were some Ohio State students that protested in the State House this week.
Yeah, and it's interesting because not only is the bill a lot stronger than it was last session, but I think its chances of passing are much higher. The primary sponsor, Senator Jerry Serino, he made a lot of compromises last session to try to get it across the finish line because former House Speaker Jason Stephens did not really like the bill, was not interested in a lot of it. And despite all the changes, Stephens pretty much unilaterally blocked it from passing out of the House. So now that Stephens is out of the picture and Matt Huffman is Speaker of the House, I think Republicans are a lot more unified on the bill and see it as a big priority and certainly won't be making many concessions this time around.
Right. And there's so much in this bill about changes to tenure, as you mentioned, like a ban on faculty strikes and requiring professors to post their course syllabi online so that everyone can see it. So I would expect some pushback from university associations.
Yeah, that's a lot. Our final topic today is First Energy. Amid all the brouhaha with Husted's Senate appointment and the impending inauguration, some major news dropped in Ohio's biggest corruption scandal. Federal prosecutors charged former executives Chuck Jones and Michael Dowling with bribing state officials to pass a bailout for First Energy's nuclear plants. Yost brought state charges against Jones and Dowling, but this is the first time the feds have charged the bribers, not just the recipients.
Yeah, both were indicted under the RICO Act, which is interesting. And this is the same prosecutors as in the Larry Householder case.
Right. So, as our listeners know all too well, householder and former Ohio GOP Chair Matt Borges are in prison for racketeering as part of this case. Former PUCO Chair Sam Randazzo died by suicide. So, I think Jones and Dowling were kind of the last big targets. I believe First Energy pleaded guilty a while back to bribing householder. But, this really shows that the feds are still interested in this case and want to make sure folks are held accountable.
Yeah, and First Energy refused to comment on these charges, but said that they're a different company now, which is interesting.
Yeah, and Jones and Dowling are no longer there, haven't been for some time. So, and one more thing before you go. In other 2026 news, former state senator Niraj Antani announced this week that he's running for Secretary of State. Ohio's current chief election official, Frank LaRose, is term limited. Antani is not the first to announce, and I doubt he will be the last.